your English podcast.
Hello, everyone. A massive high energy welcome back to your English podcast. We are so incredibly hyped to have you with us today. Whether you are currently commuting to work, hitting the way to the gym, or maybe you're just relaxing with a hot cup of coffee, we are glad you're tuning in. My name is Alex.
And my name is Nina. It is wonderful to be back behind the microphone with you and with all of our listeners. Today's topic is one that I think is going to resonate with absolutely everyone, but especially with our community here, because let's face it, we are all trying to learn something.
Oh, absolutely. And not just learn. We want to master things. We want to be good at them. But the problem is time. Time is the one resource we just can't make more of. I feel like I'm constantly fighting the clock. I want to learn a new language. I want to pick up a new skill for work, maybe learn how to cook something other than, burnt toast. But it just feels like it takes years.
It does feel that way. It really does. It feels like a mountain that is just too high to climb. And that brings us to the central question we are really exploring today. Why is it that some people seem to absorb information like sponges? You know the type. They pick up a book or they start a course, and a month later they are fluent or proficient, while the rest of us struggle for years just to get the basics down.
Exactly. It's infuriating and inspiring at the same time. You look at people like Navy SEALs, for example. They have to learn incredibly complex protocols, foreign languages, survival skills in a matter of weeks, right, before deployment. Or those memory champions, the people who can memorize the order of a shuffled deck of cards in under 20 seconds. It makes you wonder, are they superhuman? Are they mutants? Do they have a bigger brain than I do?
And that is the common misconception, isn't it? We tend to think that these accelerated learners have some kind of biological advantage, a genius gene that the rest of us missed out on. But the mission of today's deep dive is to reveal the truth. These aren't superhuman traits. They are strategies.
Strategies. I love that word. It implies that it's a process, not some gift you're born with.
It is.
It means we can copy them. We can actually learn how to do it.
Precisely. The goal today is to explore how to learn anything, whether it's English, coding, playing the guitar, or understanding astrophysics, up to 10 times faster than the traditional methods allow. We aren't talking about cutting corners or cheating. We are talking about optimizing the biological hardware we all have.
Optimizing the biological hardware. I like the sound of that. It sounds like we are upgrading our brains. So if we want to learn 10 times faster, we probably need to stop doing the things that slow us down. I feel like a lot of us are carrying, a lot of baggage from our school days.
That is the perfect place to start the problem. We have to unlearn how we learned. Think back to your time in school. How were you taught to prepare for a big history exam or a biology test? Be honest with me.
Oh, man. The memories are vivid and they are stressful. It was almost always the night before. I had a giant textbook, a highlighter, and a pot of coffee. And I would just sit there for 6 hours, staring at the pages, highlighting everything until the whole page was just neon yellow.
Right.
And just repeating facts over and over again in my head. The Battle of Hastings was in 1066. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, just cramming, brute force.
Exactly. Cramming and rote memorization. And the million-dollar question, did it work?
Well, I passed the test. So in the short term, yes. But if you asked me 2 days later what the battle was about,
It was gone.
no idea.
Yeah.
It was just gone, vanished.
That is the school trap. The traditional education system, in many ways, taught us to pass tests, not to acquire skills or deep understanding. We equate learning with staring at a book for hours. But staring isn't learning. Rote memorization isn't understanding. The inefficiency of that routine is, well, it's staggering. You were spending hours, but your brain wasn't actually encoding the information deeply.
It's tragic when you think about it. How many thousands of hours we probably all wasted doing that. It feels productive because it's painful, right?
We think if we are suffering through it, we must be learning.
Yes, that's a huge part of it. The no pain, no gain philosophy applied to our brains.
And I think this applies specifically to language learning, too. I see so many people who study English by just looking at lists of words.
Or even worse, falling into the passive trap. This is huge for language learners. Have you ever heard someone say, I'm learning Spanish, I watch a lot of Spanish TV shows?
All the time. I've said it myself. I'm absorbing it by osmosis, right? Just let it wash over you like a warm bath.
It creates a dangerous illusion of competence. It really does. You watch a show, you understand the context because of the actors' faces, the tone of voice, the dramatic music, and you think, hey, I understand Spanish. But if I turned off the TV and asked you to construct a sentence using the grammar you just heard, you probably couldn't do it. Ouch. Yeah, that hits close to home. So passive consumption, just watching Netflix or reading a book without stopping to think, that isn't real learning.
It's entertainment. And that's fine. Relaxation is important. But don't call it studying. Real learning requires friction. It requires effort. If your study session feels easy, if you are just pleasantly nodding along, you probably aren't retaining much. The brain builds connections when it is forced to struggle a little bit.
If it feels too easy, you aren't retaining it. That is a golden rule right there. It
Yeah,
reminds me of the gym. If the weight is too light, you aren't building muscle. You need that resistance.
exactly.
Okay, so we know that cramming doesn't work and passive watching is just entertainment. Let's get into the solution. You mentioned hacking the biological hardware.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something I love doing, but I never thought of as studying. Sleep.
Sleep is perhaps the most undervalued tool in the learner's toolkit. We often hear the cliche, let me sleep on it. We use it when we have a tough decision to make, but biologically, something profound is happening when we sleep. It isn't just a pause button.
I always thought sleep on it just meant, take a break and come back fresh. You're saying it's more than just resting the battery.
Much more. Sleep is not just a passive state of rest. It is an active state of data processing. When you are awake, you are gathering information. Your brain is taking in sensory data, facts, conversations. But it's all sitting in your short-term memory, specifically in a part of the brain called the hippocampus. Think of the hippocampus as a messy desk covered in papers.
Okay, I like that visual. My brain is a messy desk. That feels accurate most days.
And that desk has limited space. If you keep piling papers on it, eventually some will fall off the edge and get lost. That's forgetting.
Right.
Now, when you go to sleep, specifically during the deep sleep phases and the REM cycle, that's rapid eye movement, your brain starts to organize that desk.
Okay.
It activates these brain waves called theta waves. It sifts through what you learned during the day, it decides what to keep and what to throw away, and it moves the important stuff from short-term memory, the hippocampus, into long-term memory.
So that's the neocortex.
Exactly, the neocortex. This whole process is called consolidation.
So the neocortex is like the filing cabinet
Yeah.
or the main hard drive.
Exactly. The hippocampus is the USB stick. The neocortex is the hard drive. Without sleep, that transfer, that movement to the hard drive just doesn't happen efficiently at all.
So if I pull an all-nighter to study, which I definitely did in university, I am essentially filling my short-term memory to the brim, but I never give my brain the chance
You
to,
sit safe. Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it.
and I'm just leaving it all vulnerable.
Correct. By the next day, most of that data is corrupted or lost. You effectively wasted that time. You really did.
That explains why my cramming sessions never stuck. I wasn't saving the file. Okay, so we need to sleep. That's non-negotiable. But how do we hack this? Is there a way to tell my brain, hey, focus on the English vocabulary tonight, not the embarrassing thing I said to my boss 3 years ago?
There actually is a technique for this,
Yeah.
and it is quite powerful. It's called the pre-sleep review, and it is based on the concept of interference.
Tell me more. How do we do it? What does that look like?
It's very simple, but it does require discipline. Think about your typical evening routine. What do you do right before you fall asleep?
Usually. Scrolling, checking social media, maybe watching some funny videos, checking emails one last time. It's my wind down.
And that is the problem. You are feeding your brain junk data right before the consolidation process begins. You are creating interference. You're queuing up the wrong download. The pre-sleep review method suggests that you take the last 15 to 20 minutes before you close your eyes to review the most critical information you learned that day.
So if I'm learning English, I should review my vocabulary list or that difficult grammar rule right before I turn off the light.
Yes. You don't need to do deep, heavy studying. You don't want to agitate your brain and make it hard to fall asleep. Just review it, read it over, visualize it. This signals to your hippocampus, that messy desk, that this specific pile of papers is high priority. It primes the brain to process that specific data while you sleep.
That is incredible. It's like queuing up a download before you walk away from the computer. You're telling it, process this first.
Precisely. You are utilizing the 7 or 8 hours of sleep as study time. You're literally learning while you sleep.
That is the definition of efficiency. Okay, so we've got the night covered. Let's move to the daytime. We live in a crazy, noisy world. I have a caution about the environment. When I picture a perfect student, I picture someone in a dead silent library, noise-canceling headphones on, absolute isolation. Is that the goal?
That is the myth of silence. And honestly, for someone learning a language or a practical skill, it can be detrimental.
Detrimental. How can silence be bad? That sounds counterintuitive.
Because the world isn't silent. If you train your brain to only function and recall information in a vacuum of perfect silence, what happens when you try to speak English in a busy coffee shop? Or give a presentation in a meeting where people are shuffling papers and whispering?
You freeze. I've had that happen. I practiced a speech in my quiet bedroom perfectly. Then I got to the event, there was background noise, a waiter dropped a tray, and my mind just went blank.
That's because your brain hadn't built the focus muscle to withstand distraction. You created a dependency on silence. We call this context-dependent memory. Your brain associated the skill with the silence. Take away the silence and the skill falls apart. To learn 10x faster and better, we need to train for the chaos of the real world. We call this controlled distraction training.
Controlled distraction. So we are doing this on purpose. Like we're intentionally making it harder for ourselves.
Yes. It's about conditioning. It's like lifting weights for your focus. You might start your study sessions with some calm instrumental music. That's level 1. But as you get better, you graduate to coffee shop ambience. You know there are websites that simulate the sound of a cafe.
Yeah, the clinking cups and low chatter. I actually use those sometimes to work just for the atmosphere.
Exactly. Use that for study. And eventually, you might even study with city sounds or faint lyrical music playing. The goal isn't to be distracted. The goal is to force your brain to filter out the noise and lock on to the task. It's about adapting to chaos rather than hiding from it.
That makes so much sense. It goes back to the sports analogy. You don't train for football in a sterile, air-conditioned room. You train on the field where it's messy and loud. So by adding noise, we are toughening up our focus.
And when you finally do get into a high-pressure situation, your brain says, I know how to handle this. I can tune out the background and focus on the language.
I love that. It's building mental toughness. I'm curious about our listeners right now. We are talking about silence versus noise.
It is a personal preference for many, but we are challenging you to step out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. So listening right now, how do you usually study? Do you need total silence, like a monk in a monastery? Or do you have the TV on in the background? Think about it. Are you making it too easy for yourself?
Yeah. And hey, if you are enjoying these tips on how to hack your brain and accelerate your learning, please take a second to subscribe to our channel. We do these deep dives to help you improve, and we don't want you to miss the next one.
Yes, please do subscribe. We have so much more to share on this topic. It really helps us out. Okay, moving on. We've primed our sleep. We've toughened our focus. Now I want to talk about memory itself. I have a terrible memory. Names, dates, vocabulary. It goes in one ear and out the other. You mentioned that school trap of rote memorization. What is the alternative? How do we make things stick like glue?
We have to move beyond just the visual and auditory. Most people try to remember a word by looking at it and saying it. That's only 2 sensory hooks. To accelerate memory, we need sensory learning. We need to discuss encoding.
Encoding? That sounds technical. Break it down for us. What does that actually mean?
Think of a memory like a tent. If you only put 1 peg in the ground, the wind or time will blow it away easily. If you put 10 pegs in, that tent isn't going anywhere. Encoding is the process of putting those pegs in. The more senses you involve, the stronger the memory.
So not just seeing the word.
Right. Let's say you are learning the English word for cinnamon. If you just read cinnamon on a flashcard, that's weak. That's 1 peg. But if you read the word, say it out loud, look at a picture of a cinnamon stick, and this is key, actually smell cinnamon while you are studying it, or imagine the smell vividly.
You're creating a multi-sensory explosion in your brain.
Exactly. You are associating the vocabulary with a smell, a texture, maybe even a specific color. You are creating more hooks in the brain to pull the memory back later. If you forget the sound of the word, the smell might trigger it.
That is powerful. I guess that's why smells often trigger such strong childhood memories. You smell something and you're instantly transported back.
The olfactory bulb, the part of your brain that processes smell, is directly connected to the brain's memory centers, specifically the amygdala and hippocampus. It's primitive and powerful. But we can take this a step further with a technique that dates back to ancient Greece. It's called the memory palace.
Ah, the memory palace. I've heard of this. Sherlock Holmes uses it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It sounds very mysterious and complicated.
It is often portrayed as mysterious, but it is actually very practical. And it's based on a simple fact. Humans are evolutionarily designed for spatial navigation. For thousands of years, our survival depended on remembering where things were, where the clean water was, where the lion's den was, where the berry bushes grew.
So our brains are really good at maps.
We have incredible spatial software in our heads. If I asked you to close your eyes and visualize your childhood home, you could walk through every room in your mind, right?
Instantly, I know exactly where the sofa was, where the TV was, the scratch on the coffee table, everything.
That is a permanent map. The Memory Palace technique hacks that software to store abstract data. We take the information we want to learn and we place it onto that map.
How does a normal person do this? I don't have a palace. I have a two-bedroom apartment.
That is your palace. You visualize a place you know perfectly, your home, your childhood school, your walk to work. Then you mentally place pieces of information you want to remember in specific spots along a path in that location.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Let's say I'm trying to remember a list of English idioms. Give me an example. Walk me through it.
Okay, let's take the idiom to bite the bullet. It means to endure a painful situation with courage. You visualize your front door, but instead of just a door, imagine a giant metal bullet has been bitten into the doorknob. You can see teeth marks in the metal. It looks painful.
That's a weird image. A very strange thing to see.
The weirder, the better. The brain remembers the unusual. If it's boring, you forget it. So you see the bitten bullet on the door. Then you walk into the hallway. The next idiom is break the ice. You visualize your coat rack, but it's frozen inside a massive block of blue ice. And you have to smash it with a hammer to hang up your jacket.
I can see it. It's vivid.
Yeah.
The ice cracking everywhere.
When you need to remember the idioms later, you don't struggle to find the words in the dark void of your mind. You simply mentally walk through your front door. You see the bullet. Bite the bullet. You walk to the hallway. You see the ice. Break the ice. You are finding the information spatially.
That is wild. So you're turning abstract words into concrete, physical objects in a familiar space.
Yes, and it works. Memory champions use this to memorize thousands of digits or multiple decks of cards. For language learners, it is a game changer for vocabulary. You can fill your kitchen with food vocabulary, your living room with action verbs.
I'm definitely going to try that. I'll put my phrasal verbs in the kitchen. Run out of can be me running out of milk at the fridge, spilling it everywhere on the floor.
Perfect. The messier, the stickier. And to seal the deal on memory, we have to talk about active self-testing.
Is this different from the quizzes we took in school?
Yeah.
Because I hated those.
It's about the method. Most people study by rereading. They read the chapter, highlight it, then read it again. That is passive. It creates that illusion of fluency we talked about. Active self-testing is when you close the book and ask yourself, what did I just read?
And that moment where you panic because you can't remember. That blank feeling.
That panic is good. That struggle, that effort to retrieve the information without looking is where the neural pathways are actually built. It's called retrieval practice. Every time you successfully retrieve a memory, you make the path to it stronger. Rereading doesn't do that.
So don't just look at the answer key. Force your brain to sweat a little.
Exactly. If it's uncomfortable, it's working. You are lifting the heavy weight.
I'm seeing a theme here. Learning shouldn't be passive and comfortable. It should be active, a little bit difficult, and engaging. Now, let's talk about the one thing we all complain about. Time. I don't have 5 hours a day to study.
And I would argue that even if you did have 5 hours, studying for 5 hours straight is usually a waste of time because of cognitive fatigue.
Really? But surely more time equals more learning. That's what we've always been told.
Not necessarily. We need to think like sprinters, not marathon runners. Imagine if you wanted to train for a marathon. Would you go out and run for 24 hours straight on your first day?
No, I'd die. Or at least I'd injure myself and not be able to run for a month. It would be a disaster.
Precisely. You train in intervals. The brain suffers from cognitive fatigue. After a certain amount of focused time, usually around 25 to 30 minutes, your returns diminish. You start zoning out, you stop encoding, you are sitting there, but the lights are off.
That's the zombie study mode. I've been there. I'm reading the same paragraph 5 times and not understanding a word of it.
So what is the optimal time? There is a famous method called the Pomodoro technique. It was developed to maximize intensity while managing fatigue.
Pomodoro.
Like the tomato.
Yes, named after a tomato-shaped kitchen timer used by the creator. The breakdown is specific. 25 minutes of intense, distraction-free focus, followed by a 5-minute break.
Only 25 minutes. That sounds short. Almost too short to be useful.
It is short, but it must be intense. No phone, no tabs open, no snacks, just pure focus. Because it is short, it is easier to convince your brain to do it. If I tell you to study for 4 hours, your brain rebels. If I tell you just 25 minutes, your brain says, okay, I can do that.
It lowers the barrier to entry. I like that. And why the break? I feel like if I'm on a roll, I should keep going.
The break resets the brain's attention span. It allows the chemicals that facilitate focus like norepinephrine to replenish. If you skip the break, your focus will slowly degrade. But if you stop, walk away, stretch, maybe grab a water and come back, your next 25 minutes will be just as high quality as the first. So it's better to do 2 high-quality Pomodoros, which is less than an hour, than to sit for 3 hours in a low-focus haze.
Absolutely. Quality over quantity. Intensity over duration.
I love that. It makes starting so much easier. I can find 25 minutes in my day. I can't always find 2 hours.
And we can scale this up. We can take this idea and apply it to a longer time frame. We call it the 4-week sprint plan.
Okay, zooming out from the daily timer to the monthly calendar, what is a learning sprint?
The idea is to immerse yourself completely for a short period rather than dragging it out over a year. Many people say, I'll learn English over the next 5 years studying 15 minutes a week.
And they never get anywhere. It's too diluted. There's no progress.
Because there is no momentum. A sprint plan involves committing to a heavier workload for just 4 weeks. You create a boot camp effect for your brain. You say, for this month, English is my priority. You do multiple Pomodoro sessions a day. You listen to podcasts. You use the sleep techniques.
You flood the system. You just go all in.
Yes. And after 4 weeks, you will see a massive jump in ability. Then you can throttle back to a maintenance mode. But that burst of intensity is what pushes you through the plateaus.
It's like getting a rocket into orbit. You need a ton of fuel at the start to break gravity, then you can cruise. But if you just trickle the fuel, you never leave the ground.
That is a perfect analogy. You need escape velocity.
I'm really liking this structure. Pomodoros for the daily work, sprints for the monthly goals. Listener, have you ever tried the Pomodoro technique? Or have you ever done a boot camp style learning sprint? It can be a total game changer. And again, if you're finding this advice helpful for your own learning journey, consider subscribing. We love helping you improve, and we want to build a community of accelerated learners here.
Yes, join us. We'd love to have you.
All right, Nina. We have the techniques, we have the biological hacks, we have the schedule. But there is one thing left. The invisible wall. The thing that stops people before they even start. The psychology.
The mindset. You can have the best map in the world, but if you believe the car is broken, you aren't going anywhere.
I hear this constantly. I'm just not good at languages. I'm too old to learn. I have a bad memory. All these limiting beliefs.
This is what we call a fixed mindset. The belief that your intelligence and abilities are set in stone at birth. But to learn 10x faster, you must adopt a growth mindset.
This is the idea that the brain is plastic, right? It can change.
Exactly. Neuroplasticity is real. We used to think the brain stopped developing in childhood. We now know that is completely false. Your brain physically changes when you learn. It grows new connections. So saying I'm not good at languages is biologically incorrect. You just haven't built those neural pathways yet.
The power of yet. It's very small, but a very hopeful word.
Yes. We have to reframe failure. In traditional school, failure was bad. An F on a test meant you were not smart. In accelerated learning, failure is just data.
Failure is data. Explain that. What do you mean by that?
If you try to use a new English sentence and you mess it up and someone looks confused, you haven't failed as a person. You have just received a data point that says, okay, that structure didn't work. Let me adjust and try again. Mistakes aren't proof of stupidity. They are the stepping stones to improvement. If you aren't making mistakes, you aren't learning fast enough.
It takes a lot of pressure off. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be gathering data. I'm a scientist in my own learning.
And you have to enjoy it. We cannot ignore the chemical side of things. Dopamine.
A pleasure chemical.
Dopamine plays a huge role in learning and memory consolidation. It acts like a highlighter for the brain. It says, hey, pay attention. This is important. If you are bored, stressed, or anxious, your brain literally shuts down the learning centers. It goes into survival mode. You need to enjoy the process to keep the brain open.
So how do we hack dopamine? How do we make learning fun when it feels hard?
Celebrate small wins.
Like buying myself a cookie.
Maybe. Or just taking a moment to feel good. Did you understand a whole sentence in a movie without subtitles? Pause and celebrate it. Tell yourself, yes, I got that. That rush of positive feeling cements the learning. It tells your brain to do more of that.
I like that. We're so quick to beat ourselves up for what we don't know. We rarely celebrate what we do know.
And use positive affirmations. I know it sounds cheesy to some people, but telling yourself, I can learn this, or I am getting better every day, actually helps reduce anxiety. When anxiety goes down, the brain opens up to absorb new info. It's a real chemical process.
It's about being your own coach instead of your own critic.
Precisely. You have to be on your own team.
So we've covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's try to put this all together. We don't want our listeners to just pick one thing. The real power is in the combination, right?
The combo effect. These aren't isolated tips. They are a system. They work together.
Let's paint a picture. Let's create a scenario of a super learner. Let's call him Steve. How does Steve use all of this?
Okay. Steve decides he wants to master business English. First, he sets a time frame. He commits to a 4-week sprint. He knows for this month, he is all in.
Okay, Steve is motivated. He's got his goal.
Every day, he schedules his study time. He doesn't just find time. He blocks out 2 Pomodoro sessions, 25 minutes each in the evening after work.
Short, intense bursts. Manageable.
During those sessions, he doesn't sit in silence. He puts on some lo-fi beats or coffee shop noise to train his focus in chaos.
Nice. He's building that focus muscle, getting ready for a real meeting.
He is learning new vocabulary. He doesn't just read the list. He uses the memory palace. He places the business terms around his apartment. He imagines a merger happening on a sofa between 2 cushions. He smells the stale coffee in the imaginary meeting room. He includes it with his senses.
Multi-sensory, making it weird and memorable.
Then he tests himself. He closes the book and forces himself to walk through his mental palace and recall the words. He struggles, he remembers, he strengthens the path.
Active retrieval. The heavy lifting.
And finally, right before he goes to bed, he does his pre-sleep review. He spends 15 minutes looking over the words one last time, queuing them up for his brain to download and consolidate while he sleeps.
And all the while, he's telling himself, I'm getting better at this. Celebrating every new word he learns, every successful Pomodoro.
That is the recipe. If Steve does that for 4 weeks, he will learn more than he would have in a year of passive, sporadic study.
It sounds intense, but also doable. It's structured. It's not just try harder. It's try smarter.
And that brings us to the final point, personalization. You are the scientist of your own learning. Maybe the memory palace doesn't work for you, but the sensory associations do. Maybe you prefer morning study over evening. You have to experiment.
Try these techniques. See what sticks. Build a custom routine that fits your life and your brain.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to tweak the system. Make it your own.
Wow. I feel like I need to go start a sprint right now. I'm energized. We've gone from sleep hacks to memory palaces, from timing our sessions to reframing our entire mindset.
It is a journey, but the key is to start. Don't just listen to this deep dive and nod and say, that's interesting. Try one of these techniques today. Just one. Do a pre-sleep review tonight. Or try a Pomodoro session tomorrow.
Action is everything. Knowledge is potential power, but action is real power.
Beautifully said.
Well, we are coming to the end of our time. This has been a fascinating discussion. I really hope you all got some aha moments out of this.
I certainly did. Even as we discuss it, I'm reminded of things I need to implement in my own life. It's a constant process.
If you enjoyed this deep dive into accelerated learning, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us bring you more content like this, and we love having you as part of the family.
Thank you so much for listening to your English podcast today. We appreciate your time and your curiosity.
Keep learning, keep growing, and we will see you next time.
Bye for now.
See ya.